Friends, welcome back to the Film Alchemist podcast, the show where we take the movies we love, break them apart, to find out what gives them their magic, October magic, Halloween magic, the infinite abyss of the horror mega marathon magic. I'm your host, Josh Griffey, joined as always by my friend and cuz who does whatever he wants.
God damn it, Alex Dandino.
It is a true, it's like a moment of majesty, right? Like I imagine sometimes if I was like camping and I saw Bigfoot, swimming and I saw Nessie, I'm on my couch and I see the literal low point of the Texas Chainsaw Massacre franchise. Like it's like one of those like amazing things you think about and you find it neither here nor there. We are crushing our way through the Texas Chainsaw franchise. Every single movie. Today we've arrived at Texas Chainsaw 3D. So before we talk about that and continue our marathon, if you guys, all the Texas Chainsaws prior are already on your feed, go back, download those, join us for that. Make sure you have your notifications on. We're really going to be flooding everyone this month. So keep those notifications on would be great. Also, what would be great is if you support the show on Patreon, patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. Help us grow the show. Help us find more reach. Help us keep this thing going, guys. We appreciate it. We have a huge Patreon exclusive library. You get a vote on episodes you want to join that library. This month, the patrons picked the 2 additional horror movies that will fill out the lineup, and they have access to a Patreon exclusive feature-length commentary. So if you want all 31, what's the point of doing 28? You're so close to the mountaintop. Get the 31. Go over to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod. We also have a really fun Tales from the Crypt miniseries. We have a lot of awesome stuff over there for you. If you'd be so kind, it helps us out, and hopefully there's enough there for you that it will be so much bang for your buck. We'll all be winning. All of us.
Agreed.
The YouTube, Film Alchemist. Subscribe over there. We're on all the socials. The email, filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. Make sure you're leaving 5-star ratings and reviews on every podcast app where you find us. That helps us out a ton, believe it or not. Also this month, if you'd be so kind, send a direct message to a friend, right? A horror-loving friend, a movie-loving friend. Let them know what we're up to over here so they can join the October Mega Marathon. Directly reach out to someone you know who might be interested in what we're doing, and we'll take it from there. We appreciate you. Also, you can go check out some of the horror movie stuff that me and my movie-loving friends, including Alex now, have been working on over at misfitparade.net. Some little horror movies we're making. We have some possible big news coming out by the end of the year, so stay with us. Misfitparade.net. All right. That's enough. Let's talk about movies that have already been made, for better or worse. Texas Chainsaw 3D. Where to start? There are...
There is... Look,
this is essentially Old Man Leatherface. There is a binding this film to the original, which I actually kind of like.
I read that this is actually intended to be a direct sequel.
Sequel
to the original.
It's one of the things, Halloween is the worst about this as a franchise, except for Texas Chainsaw. Which is every movie or two, Halloween would just say, let's just reboot all the mythology and not add up to anything and eschew other sequels. This one might be worse, because almost every single movie is its own universe.
Yeah.
They all harken back to one, is like something happened. Even like 3 and 4, they'll loosely mention there was like 1 or 2 other chainsaw incidents, but
is it
they're not even massacres, they're incidents.
Is it the 4th one in the opening? Like, that's my favorite, is like minor incidents. I'm like, yeah, just minor murders in Texas.
Not massacres, minor, guys. Minor incidents.
Minor. They're not called they're deluges when they're not.
It's the difference between shitting your pants or, oops, that wasn't a fart, right? Like, that's what those chainsaws were.
It's a shart rather than actually a full shitting of the pants.
Yeah, we've all been there. We all
Texas
understand
Chainsaw shart.
What Vilmer's telling us in that. This constant we have to go back, right? And then the reboot and New Beginning are together. And then this one comes out and says, let's again reset. And it's hard because one of the joys of a franchise is kind of building on, right? Using what came before you. Mm-hmm. Texas Chainsaw, we're kind of always resetting into just this, well, it's another chainsaw that is kind of lost a lot of the ferocity. I do think this one, though, this movie literally drives into the first movie.
Yeah. This is what
Which
I'll
I
say.
thought was cool because I was like, that's pretty ballsy to just be showing us all the things we like about the first one and then drive into it.
I think what's really fascinating about the Texas Chainsaw franchise as we watch these is, for better or worse, these movies take more like huge swings than most other franchises are willing to. And like we've watched over the last what have we long been doing this? 3 or 4 years now? The marathons. We've watched pretty much the major franchises at this point. I think other than like Leprechaun and a couple others.
Conjuring, maybe.
Yeah, Conjuring. Yeah. We've nailed all of them, and this is the only one I've watched where people are literally like, I am going to take this fucking chainsaw and swing it as hard as humanly possible in a direction that no one knows. And you're like, all right, cool, go for it. Sometimes
like Babe Ruth full of hot dog water and cigar smoke. They are taking hacks.
Like Babe Ruth calling his shot after just like guzzling hot dog water, chomping, like not even smoking a cigar, eating a cigar. And then like a bloody T-bone steak, walking out on the mound and pointing, shooting his shot.
I do not think we can say that this movie has a swing of that magnitude.
Well, what I was going to say is, now, sometimes the Babe hits him foul. This would be one of those occasions. And,
sometimes the Babe is like, is this it? Is this diabetes? I can't. Okay.
Sometimes the Babe hits a foul ball, It is what it is.
It happens.
This would be, in my opinion, one of the many foul balls.
I'll put it this way. I love the driving into the right after, right? The sheriff's like, hey, we got a lady who says Jed Sawyer, that he, chainsawed these people, whatever. That you massacred all their friends.
Yeah, yeah.
Bill Moseley returns as kind of the patriarch.
It's fun.
Gunnar Henson himself returns as one of the other Hilljacks. Mm-hmm. The thing that I love the setup of like, we're going to redo like the fallout of the first one. I'm like,
yeah.
All right, it's not something we really need fallout from, but okay, show me what you got. It's weird that we cut into the Sawyer house and there's just like an army of rednecks now. There's just like 6 obese uncles. And I'm like, well, I don't remember that from the first one. I was like, the idea of the first one is that most of them, they're eating this because they're starving. I was like, these are rotund.
These are robust fellows.
Yeah, they must be eating all the time. Like that fucking barbecue shack is a 7-Eleven and just has a regular flow of customers. These are big fellas.
Yeah.
But they have this whole, there's a bunch of them. They're like, send Jed out. He's simple. So you kind of see this. It's almost too normalizing what came in the first one. Where the Sawyers now are like an actual human family. Where there's, a lady with a baby. And it's like, if we don't send Leatherface out.
Well, it's just.
We're all going. They're going to comply with the law.
Yeah.
Which is a direct affront to the first movie. Law does not exist in the places that society has abandoned.
It's this weirdly like grounded thing, and you're like, dude, you can't do grounded after like.
What's
6
weird
of these.
because honestly, I'll say this scene works as a start for the movie. It's just the more I thought about it, I was like, it's just a direct opposite.
No. It works for the start of a movie. Now, if you're making a Texas Chainsaw Massacre movie. Maybe
we're saying Bill Moseley's the old man we see screaming in the start of part 1 who's like, hit her with the hammer, daddy. And now he's like, well, based on common law and statutes.
Let me grab my bar association tome real quick.
Let me drive down the freeway until I see a lawyer billboard. We'll fix Jed. We'll get him help. It's like, wait, what?
Yeah.
That is not the family from the first one.
So again, like I said, this setup works for a movie, but I'm not sure it works for this movie because there's
I like the
5
idea
that have
of
preceded
the Texas vigilante posse showing up. I was like, this is really good.
No, that
and
part
it's something
cool.
that we haven't, because Haddonfield always has posses, and that shit's in Illinois.
Yeah, no, this one was like this is
Texas. Like, there's going to be vigilante
it's taken
posses.
this long.
And they have this moment where the fucking dipshit who becomes the mayor shows up, and he's like, well, it's Jed. We fucking knew it was Jed. Like, they were waiting for a fucking moment to jump.
I don't know about you. I fucking love that actor. He's like in a ton of shit.
It's great.
He's so fucking great.
But no, I mean, this part is great, right? These guys are like, we've just been waiting for a chance, like a reason that we can explain in our like faux biblical bullshit.
Yeah.
Why we went to fucking hurt Jed because he's not like us and he's outside of the system, like the movie Angus, right? Like we just don't like him and we want to destroy him.
Yeah.
And so I thought that part worked, and the fact that they just start chucking Molotovs and, you know, they're taking everything into their own hand. I think the line is, an eye for an eye, you can't get around the good book, Sheriff.
Yeah, that's the repeated line more than once. Yeah.
And a shootout ensues, and I'm like, that feels very Texas. This feels right within the mythology that they'd come to destroy the Sawyers.
Absolutely.
Like some kind of Frankenstein monster that Texas had birthed.
Right.
Like that. The scene when the guy steals the baby and kicks the mom in the face, you're like, Jesus Christ.
Yeah. We're like, oh,
But
I was like, okay, cool. Now we're
we're going
to do some
like,
Texas Chainsaw stuff. Okay.
Yeah, Texas in society wants to take from the Sawyers one last time. All right. Dug it, right?
Right.
Leatherface is not found. They find the chainsaw to put over the bar. I was like, all right, this is kind of working for me. I'm kind of digging it. Hunting photos, and then it's like, grocery store. It's like, oh, all right. And you're like, oh, so she, this movie has a terrible thread that runs through it. Let's just address this up front. So Alexandria Daddario plays the long-lost Sawyer baby. Heather Sawyer, I think she says her name is at the end, right?
Yeah. Spry 39-year-old, yeah.
She has this thing where it's like they're telling us that the hand of fate is shuffling her about, right?
Yeah.
That she was sent to this redneck family so that she could come back and inherit this incredible farm, right? Where you're like, how did the Carvers or the Carsons get fucking maternally matched with the fucking Sawyers? That does not seem like a match made in heaven, right? It's like the worst spring break surprise ever. Surprise, I married a cannibal and I'm knocked up, and their parents are like, what? Get off our plantation. But the hand of fate is shuffling her about, right? So is it too on the nose that she works in the butcher department of the grocer? And does she immediately embrace the, oh, I just found out what my last name is, so now all their crimes are mine? And it's like, whoa. But essentially it's, this group of friends who are all really hot.
Well, it's like this.
They're going to go to a Halloween party, but instead they divert to go accept her inheritance, which will put her in the path of Leatherface.
Yeah. It's just this strange, like, attempt at a, like, thematic match cut. I'm like, yeah, I get it. She's, like, part of this. Understood. Thank you.
Yeah.
Like, I wasn't
I'll tell
able
you this.
to.
I don't know if you remember this, but we have a personal beef with this movie, which is I remember going to see it at ArcLight and coming back, and me and you had written a kind of like a supernatural slasher script.
Oh, yeah.
And this movie has almost the exact premise, or at least like the origin of what happened in our script, like the kind of like gotcha movie. Mm-hmm. And I was just like, that fucking piece of shit, Texas Chainsaw 3 stole this thing from our movie. It didn't steal, right? It's obviously not a clever idea, and a lot of people got there. But we had to go back and rewrite vast chunks of our script because this movie exists. Now watching it, like 10 years later, I'm like, we should have kept every single word we had.
Yeah, wouldn't have mattered.
We should have kept every single word.
When we cut to the present with Alexandra Daddario, I actually thought, I was like, oh, cool, that's probably not the baby, that's like the daughter of the baby. That would, okay.
Oh, really? I immediately was like, baby, yeah.
Well, okay, but the time jump was like...
It's a lot. From 78 to 2013.
No, like, it's supposed to be... Is it 78 or 74?
Yeah, it could be 74, yeah.
So that means...
Mid-70s.
That means her character's supposed to be 39 years old. Like, there's like a whole thing here. I'm like, we are really fudging the number here.
Lady, aren't you a little old for the Avril Lavigne cosplay? Yeah. Lady?
What's your, what's going on here? Aren't you a little old for the Beetlejuice bippy top and the black hair? But yeah, it's fine. Just go for it. Fine.
Yeah, the Texas Chainsaw, the reboots, what I'll give them is that they really are like, you know who we want to make the main star? The wardrobe of our final girl. We really want them to be iconic and memorable.
I mean, like, literally every single time these ones come out, the new ones, it's mostly like, hey, who's hot girl? Is she available? Like, I don't even think they know her
just
name.
like ludicrously hot people.
Yeah.
Her boyfriend's ludicrously hot, even though he's like the worst boxer of all time. She makes bone art because it's in her blood.
I loved also, he was like, taking you, the guy, like her terrible boxer boyfriend, I thought we talked about taking your work home with you. I'm like, bro.
First off,
you are literally terribly boxing in your house.
No, but that's okay, right? I think that's fine because that's more of an exercise. That's like a modern day Peloton room. Not that me and you would know, but people have. But what I'm saying is, imagine being a boyfriend and every day your girlfriend comes home, she's like, hey, I brought home another bone that I cleansed at the market. And you're like, this I don't like. This has to stop. No, it's another bone that I line up in a picture frame with like dead, Book of Revelations backgrounds. And it's like, no, I think can we draw a boundary? Can we draw a couple's boundary right here?
That's where Trey Songz is like, you know what? I don't think this is going to work. But
this is the one time when it's okay to do the Jonah Hill boundaries. Is like no fucking bone art.
No bone art.
No bone, unless it's like, not like this. Like it's got to be like, Tim Burton-y bone art. See, that's the thing. Just don't set boundaries on people.
If it's like,
but I do get that it's a red flag. It's like
bone art. It's okay.
Yeah. Why is she bringing home really small femurs? Like this is chicken femurs. Red flag. So I'm kind of with him on that. But then he's like, but my girlfriend is like a goddess from Mount Olympus. So all right, she can do the bone thing. And look where that got. She did the bone thing. He was doing some bone thing.
Terribly boxing. I can't get over how like the intro to that character where he's just like, I'm like, dude, you're gonna die. There's no question about it.
Yeah, it's reminiscent of the Friday the 13th where they show a boxer and you're like, that's not gonna go well for you.
Yeah,
the one thing you can't do against Jason or these monsters is fight. You need to get thinking.
Well, it was just like quietly. I'm like, are they setting up that he's gonna like get into a boxing match with a chainsaw? Is that what we're gonna have to do? Because it's the 3D movie. So I'm like, are we gonna see like fists?
Boom! We're gonna get jabbed in the face. Boom, yeah.
Boom, and then like it was one of those things. About 30 minutes in, I forgot that it was a 3D movie because like I'm obviously not watching it in 3D.
There's like two moments where it's very noticeable.
Yeah, there's very obvious like 3D bits. Yeah. But for me, I was just like, I don't like 30. But at the very beginning, I was like watching it and be like, okay, so the title that was definitely in 3D. That's in 3D. And then by the time they start heading towards the very beautiful redone estate.
Because this is not the same Texas estate, right? This is like a different. This is
be right.
It's the Carson or Carver family's estate.
The Carson
which
estate
is county adjacent, but it is not the Sawyer's derelict farm, which got burnt to the ground.
Right.
So this is the family that married in. So actually, now that I think about it, it's like fuck. These people live in the same town, and they still are like, yeah, we're just gonna keep hooking up with Sawyer's.
Yeah.
Even though everyone in town's like, yeah, that big guy like wears human skin. I don't know. Like this is not right.
I'll be honest with you.
Because you never know exactly how much they know about like the crimes that are being committed at the Sawyers. Yeah. But for sure, everyone in town would be like, the Sawyers, they're the bone art of humans. Like this is a red flag.
I mean, there's at least one person in town who knows that the Sawyers are still around and that Leatherface is still a thing. And that's the lawyer who literally hands the key and says, by the way, make sure you read that note. It's like, dude, just tell her what's in the note right now.
Yeah, maybe to say, hey right now in front
of me, read the note, please. Like, that's when I was like,
they do gloss over at the end when he's like, I gave you the note. I thought it'd be all right. And then he's like, I've been taking care of Leatherface for 3 months. And it's like, that right there. Like, you're a lawyer. You know how this works. If we were in the court of law, that's my you can't handle the truth moment. I got you. You literally did not tell her that old man Leatherface is in the fucking basement.
Is in the basement. You have
The only thing is he's like, are we to assume the lawyer, he's like, I assumed things, but I didn't know. So he saw Leatherface or just gave him food, but he didn't know.
There's no out because he was like, you need to read the letter. It's like, okay, so you know what's in the letter.
You read the fucking letter.
You read the fucking letter and you know what's in the letter. So therefore, you're like purposely holding information back.
Yeah, someone wrote bitch on the wall. It's like, there are a lot of moving parts here. You need to read this now. Get a handle on this.
Like, sit her down in her car, in that, like, fucking V-Dubs van and be like, you need to sit down and read this right now because there's a lot going on here. And if you just walk in that house thinking you own it, like all you kids end up doing, like, it's not an Airbnb that you can just puke in and then leave 24 hours.
Yeah, it has, like, an incredible pool table and, like, bars still. It's like, what?
Oh, it's absolutely beautiful. I mean,
it's insane.
It's a beautiful home.
Yeah, Leather just fucking moving on up, dude. He is climbing the socioeconomic ladder on the burnt bodies of his family.
Leather's like whole situation, like
he's got a whole chainsaw menagerie now.
my favorite too is when they're like, all right, when you go down towards the wine cellar, whoa, Sawyers have wine cellars now? My goodness.
Carvers or Carsons.
Oh, there's the Carsons. The Carsons have wine cellars.
Yeah, the Carsons.
See,
this is a real Romeo and Juliet, dude. This is a real one.
Keep messing with me, man.
Yeah. No, the Sawyers are not rocking like this. But it is like the lawyer's just like, it'll be fine, right? It'll be all right. It's
okay.
Like, dude, Leatherface kills a guy by noon. like he's having brunch with that guy's corpse.
He kills a guy.
Yeah, he gets there, and they're just like, let's do the hot hitchhiker is a thief. Like, even the hitchhiker's super hot. And it's like, let's get Scott Eastwood to be the hot little deputy who we know is going to be in on it.
Absolutely.
Who we know that the fucking doofy who's become the mayor is his dad. Right? And they're like, let's just start throwing toys in the sandbox.
Yeah.
Right? Now the boyfriend is banging the best friend. But, like, why would they... Like, their actions make no sense in the context of cheaters.
There's just this, like...
It's too much.
Here's the thing. Sandbox, I feel like, is... The analogy... This is what I'd say. Like, remember those... Remember the little... Like, when they made Polly Pockets for boys, Mighty Max, I
Mighty
think?
Max, yeah.
Yeah, so
Mighty Max Adventures. Oh, I had almost everyone I could get my hand on.
Okay, so I had a Mighty Max thing. And Mighty Max, like, the toys only fit in those things. They never fit in any other play set. It was very complicated to, like, have, like, because, you know, when you're a kid, you're combining your...
They had, like, little coves where you could put them and snap the faces shut. Because the faces look like monsters you'd open up to.
The faces were like I had the main one with the skull. That was the one I had. So, like, you snap the faces shut. You can't have other toys, though, play on that Mighty Max toy set. And that's, like, kind of
a Ninja Turtle would crush that set, Gulliver's Travel style.
And, like, so if you think about this movie... If you think about this movie as a Mighty Max toy set, it's like, okay, you can't have a Power Ranger, a Ninja Turtle, and then, like, a Skeletor all just standing on top of this thing.
With a wrestling buddy. It's just
a wrestling buddy. It's like a lot of hat on a hat stuff. And, you know, again, the kill, like, I'll say this. The first kill where he's got that fucking dude strung up, holy shit, that is awesome.
Yeah, chunks him.
That is fucking
The guy, like, kind of grabs his face, so he chainsaws him in half.
Cool as hell. Like, that was fucking rad.
Or that was the hitchhiker. The first one he gets is like the shitty boyfriend where he hooks him on the stairs. And then he gets the hot thief.
Yeah, sorry.
And then the boyfriend's strung, or the nerd is strung up, so he reaches for the mask.
The nerd gets strung up and then cut in half, which
because those two are kind of like together in their moments of death, right?
Yeah.
That
was fucking cool.
Let's just kind of pause here. What do you make of Old Man Leatherface?
Not into it.
He looks like Doink the Clown.
Yeah. It's
the
one
hair
of those things
is
like
bad.
The hair's balding. Like, he's clearly like...
The mask is not my favorite. I'll tell you the exact scene where I was out. Because I think for the most part, he does, like, most of the Leatherface work I want. He
does all the Leatherface stuff, but, like, the mask...
There are moments when, like, at the end, when his mouth's all bleeding and he looks up at his cousin, and you're like, that I like. That gives him some, like...
Little pathos, sure.
Hurt kid on a playground who got in his first fight. Like, I get it. Mm-hmm. The scene when he's just like, you know what I don't give a fuck about? Cutting a fence and running into the fairgrounds.
Yeah. Like...
Because, like, that's the one, right, where he throws the chainsaw at... Eastwood, that's for sure a 3D. There is probably no more scene, top 3 or 4 in the franchise, like we did not do the homework. This guy has existed by living in the basement of the shitty Sawyer house, now the basement of this fucking mansion. There's no way that just to get this girl who he has no fucking connection to, he's known for less than 23 minutes of real jogging time. That he's going to go in there, and they do the thing like there's the person from the haunted house who's dressed as Jigsaw with the chainsaw, and it's like it's funny, it's part of the. And I'm like, why is that
a costume?
Is this Halloween Horror Nights? This is a fucking like yokel fair in like God Country, air quotes. But him like waiting for her on the Ferris wheel and her just like doing like an Ultimate Ninja Warrior move. I was like, this is. It's not good. Again, this is not the moment that I think we can all agree is the worst in the franchise. This is
it's close.
It's not good. Like, this is a tragic moment in the film.
Once they leave the house, And
him chainsawing the tire, the van flipping, him chainsawing the casket, like that bit's working for me.
Yeah. I think what happens is once we get away from the house, and look, it's worked before, but the problem is like when it's worked before, it's because the entire town is in on it. Because Sheriff Hoyt and the whole thing with Arlie Ermey, like that works because
there is no town. It's just
there's no way out. It's a setup, so it works. Now it's 2012 and it's a populated area and there's lots of people and there's a full sheriff's station operational.
When he chainsaws that fence,
everybody knows what happened.
Go back and turn it on. When he chainsaws through that fence, maybe they stopped 3 of the 55 extras that are there to even look at it.
Yeah.
It's fucking insanity. Like me and you could have been there doing Jaeger bombs in this era. And 100% if we saw that guy,
I'd fucking take off.
Even as drunk and dumb as we were, we'd be like, that's not good.
That's not bad. We got to go.
Yeah. No one runs screaming from him.
Well, I think that's the thing.
It's like this weird, they're trying to say that he's so native to Texas that it's fine.
That was my problem.
It's like, come on.
That's one of those things where I'm like, I'm sorry, is this a normal thing? Because it wasn't a Halloween thing. It was just a fair. I was like,
it's like, are they telling us it's like seeing a Confederate flag in the South where you're like, that's unfortunate.
Yeah,
but it is our culture.
It's still here, huh? Well, it's culture, I guess. Like,
it's our thing. I know you guys don't like it. It's like, no, let's just be done with it. Let's just fucking move on.
Well, what's strange is, everyone seems really nonchalant about a guy running around with a chainsaw and a skin mask, and it's a normal thing. And
It is Halloween time. I forgot about that addendum.
It is?
Because, they're going to Texas on their way to the Louisiana Halloween parade or whatever.
Oh, see, this is the kind of stuff.
If you look around the setting, there's only one other person that's shown, and it's the carnival folk in costume. Everyone else is dressed like a normal person.
Right. So maybe they think it is like Halloween Horror Nights.
If everyone was in costume and they're like, oh, like the scene in Hocus Pocus, right? Where they don't recognize the Sanderson sisters because it's a costume night. That's not what this is. But
that's different. Also, they're not wielding chainsaws that are clearly actually on. So,
Yeah, that are loud as fuck.
Yeah.
Halloween Horror Nights does that. They have the guys that run around as punk clowns that have those really loud, no, and they slide on their knees and make
one of our friends from Wipeout used to do it. He would around October he would have to cut out early, and we'd all give him shit, but it was because he was doing double duty at Halloween Horror Nights.
Yeah, it's there are moments of this Leatherface. I think him sewing the mask to his own cheeks is an awesome addition to the franchise.
That was cool. I liked that.
That scene was fucking great.
Yeah.
Loved it. Him doing his work in the basement, I like. Him scratching out the newspaper photo, I like.
Yeah, the vendetta stuff is fascinating. I do, I read a review, I read, a really brief review about, it's strange to, refocus Leatherface as, an anti-hero almost, like a vengeful character. I thought that was strange.
This is the part that is just absolutely intolerable.
The vengeance thing? Because I don't understand that.
Him wanting vengeance makes sense, right?
Sure.
Her reading, they have this scene where after the carnival or whatever, she's in the police
she's
station.
In the police station. She reads all
and
that shit.
And they happen to just leave a fucking box full of evidence, right? She reads through the files, right? And presumably she skim reads the part where they were killing tons of humans and eating them and selling them at a barbecue stand.
She evidently glazes over that part.
And, glazes over that and gets to the part where now we say that the Sawyers and the Carsons were the victim of the real massacre.
Yeah.
And I'm like, I'm not saying the mayor's right. The mayor might be a huge piece of shit that took law into his own hands. The sheriff seems to even agree with me. That literally does not change the fact that the crimes of one of the most shocking horror movies in the history of American and world cinema still happened and are worse than what the fucking mayor did.
Still occurred.
She skips over that, and her reaction is, I will write murder on a picture and immediately, because this is what she does. It's almost as if it's the first time she got her Captain Planet ring.
Yeah.
And she's like, you know what? Now my whole personality is based on heart. Yeah. That's what I do. You know what? I'm more of a wind lady now. Wind is all I talk about every episode. And she just goes, I'm a Sawyer, and tries to stab the and it's like, you're not a Sawyer.
Yeah,
You
that was
were
one of those
born
things.
a
Like,
Sawyer.
wait, so
you
all
were
of a sudden
not raised
you have
in a
this
house of
bloodlust?
cannibalism.
Yeah, come on.
What the fuck?
That's
she
a weird...
so rapidly reads the report, forgets the real most heinous crimes, says, "Oh, you burned my family and my mom, and my dad stole me."
Right.
Which again, those are two crimes. Those are two crimes. Not as bad as what the Sawyers were doing.
This is the.
Do you remember how many bones were in the house in part 1?
I mean,
like just a hoarder's house full of extra bones.
Yeah. I mean,
they might have killed 50 people. We don't know.
This is what I'm talking about, though. Like, this is the giant swing. This is the Babe Ruth size swing that they take that just runs afoul immediately. And like, oh, nice try. I mean, that doesn't really work because, like, logic for these movies dictates that there is no logic to it. Like, that it's sadism, it's cannibalism, like, it's all these terrible things. It's not based in vengeance or any sort of, like, real motivation, which is what's scary about it. And I think assigning a motivation to Leatherface's whole thing, which is vendetta, essentially, doesn't quite gel just because it just doesn't work. It's not in line with what the stories are.
Like, she forgets that earlier in the movie, he just has, like, a posed old lady's dead body upstairs.
Yeah, he flat out murdered half of her. He murders all her friends.
And she doesn't even pause to say, hey, kill my friends because they're fucking in the barn while I'm hiding in a casket.
Yeah.
So to her, she doesn't even know that her friends and boyfriend have betrayed her. Yeah. So it should, but she reads half a police report and says, I am all in. Like a 40-year-old lady who has a pumpkin spice latte and is like, you know what I talk about? Taylor Swift. That's it.
Yep.
I'm a Swiftie. I'm 40 and this gives me lifeblood.
This is how Karens are formed. You read half an article about something and you become
dude.
Yeah. Man. This is like
I hope the fucking Swift hive doesn't come after us. I'm not saying anything bad about Taylor Swift. I'm saying there is a group of middle-aged women who say this is my whole personality and it makes me feel young.
Absolutely.
And it's like they're insane. They're like the most ravenous fan base in the world.
They are fair enough. They're fine.
That's what she does. Leatherface becomes her Taylor Swift.
Yeah.
And she's like in every conversation, it's like people who do CrossFit, right? You do one CrossFit class and all of a sudden you buy the clothes. All you talk about is your PRs. All you talk about is, hey, where's the bacon? Like you become a CrossFitter, right?
You become that person.
Yeah. You know, guys who take on, what's my brand now? Cigar. Like, it happens. Hers just happens to be, now I'm a fucking full-fledged murderous cannibal.
Cannibalistic murderer.
And it's like, what? And it happens so fast. And it leads to the worst moment in the history of the franchise. Because Leatherface even comes up behind her, right? In the fucking meat factory.
Which I was like, that's going to be
the sheriff's like, we're going to kill her out there and, like, leave her for dead, whatever. Because she scratched a guy's face with a knife because he was fucking with her. Mm-hmm. She has the tragedy tit shot. Leatherface puts his fucking saw on his shoulder like it's his dick. Gets right in her face. Is like, right? And it's like, ew, gross. And then he sees and fucking grossly rubs her brand. That was
her little brand mark.
His sister-in-law's necklace, which somehow he remembers iconically. This is so stupid. Okay, and then they start battling, and she does... The line of the movie, obviously, is like, they're going to fucking put Leatherface in the shark and mulch his ass, right?
Well, and I think... See, that's like another thing, too, is like, this is a killer who has been, like, otherworldly strong. Otherworldly able to,
But he's old now.
Oh, is that what we're going with?
We've seen before Leatherface have knee issues and back, like, chronic pain.
Okay, cool. So we're going to... Well, that was a different
Leatherface. He's like Shaq in the Icy Hot commercials. He's big,
that was a different
but
Leatherface.
vulnerable. He's vulnerable.
Okay, so that's what we're going with. We're doing... Okay, so it's Leatherface with no Icy Hot. Okay.
Imagine how well we'd fight if someone had just made us jog 2 miles and be like, guys,
I'm assuming
exercise for one
I was just
month.
in a car accident, so I'm assuming that he feels like Leatherface feels like me all the time.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I can accept all that.
Okay.
Like the mystique of Leatherface is waning, right? That he's like dying out, whatever.
Sure, yeah.
When she comes back in, she easily kills a guy at the controls.
Mm-hmm. And then...
She throws the chainsaw to Leatherface and says, do your thing, cuz. It is the lowest point in this franchise by miles. And I can hear people saying, no, Texas Chainsaw 4. There's nothing in Texas Chainsaw 4 that's as terrible as that line.
I would take the weird, like,
everything.
Black Site, government entanglement, all that stuff.
Everything.
I would rather have that than do your thing, cause like, why?
It's become this like thing that the internet's latched onto, ironically, right? Like, oh, that's funny. It's so fucking bad. It's so fucking terribly delivered. Him then like rising like he's Goku with the sensu bean, right? And he's like, I can fight again. It's so stupid. Like it's such a sad and embarrassing. And she's just saying, yeah, now I fully want to be part of the Chainsaw Murders.
Right.
1 hour after what I've seen, even if the cop took her, and now the sheriff just lets it happen. He's like,
that was my next thing. Was like the sheriff. So we have this terrible line, and then the sheriff just lets it happen, and he gives the good book line. And I'm like, dude, you allowed a murder to occur. Is it cool when he cuts the
guy's hand off and he falls into the shark? Yeah,
of course, it's awesome. That's fucking rad.
What the movie's saying, though, is that the cop, the sheriff, who's supposed to be our moral authority, right? Him and the lawyer who fucking fed them to Leatherface is like, we got to do something now. He met Sally in part 1. He took her interview statement about all of the terrible things they did to her and her friends, and presumably countless other human beings. And because Jed or whatever didn't follow protocol,
by the way,
the sheriff says, you know what? Why don't you go back home and you guys can just live and start a new cannibal house?
You live in your new cannibal colony.
The movie wants us to think that the fucking posse of rednecks is an equal to or greater evil than what the fucking Sawyers were. And that is the most fucking asinine logic
absurd.
In a horror franchise I've ever... The only thing I've ever seen that's more dumb than this in a major horror movie franchise is Paranormal Activity. When in like part 5 or 6, they're like, you know what would be cool is if the demon was a fart cloud and you could see it the whole time. And you're like, the moment I can just see a cloud, Paranormal Activity fails to work. I'm not searching the screen anymore. The whole thing fucking falls apart.
I think look, what I don't understand is you have these movies. Now, even if it's a direct sequel to the original and ignoring every other sequel it does, you can't ignore the logic of the movie universe you're in. And I think that is like that is the cardinal sin of Texas Chainsaw 3D, is ignoring any of the logic that was already set up from the first movie, which is, this is insane, experience it. Like, that's the whole point of the first one. Like, there is it's on the fucking posters. Like, what's the tagline? It was a murder by death song too.
Ugh,
but like,
no idea.
Like, it's one of those things where it's like, I can't remember it off the top of my head right now. But like, you don't know what's going to be left of these people at the end. I know exactly who will be surviving Texas Chainsaw 3D, and I also know that there's no reason for it to work the way it doesn't work. Like, it lacks the logic of the story.
Them going home and him getting milk and cookies and just going to his fucking
masturbatorium, getting shut in his masturbatorium, by the way,
scratching the face off, and like, they're just going to live this way now.
That's it.
And
That's
if no one comes around, there won't be any more chainsawing or cannibal. Like, are you fucking kidding me?
Get the fuck out of here.
The movie's telling me that within 25, 30 minutes of her finding out who she was, she's just like, I'm 100% in. Mm-hmm. And now that she's going to be at fucking Save-A-Lot down the road, and someone's going to call her a name and say, hey, you were tied to that fucking sheriff who died and that other guy and the mayor.
Cool.
And she'll be like, it's cool. Like, it's fine that you throw barbs at me. I'll turn the other cheek like Jesus. She'll be like, no, I'll eat your cheek like a Sawyer. Mm-hmm. And the sheriff's just, again, the Texas Chainsaw Insurrection is not as bad as the Texas fucking Chainsaw Massacre.
Yeah.
It's not the same. When we see a cop get killed because he was part of the original posse, okay, cool. He gets what he gets.
Sure.
Right?
Whatever.
When the mayor gets killed, awesome. I do love that scene with the cop, though, because you watch him all, he's like, I got a Desert Eagle, and like, having a chainsaw don't make you bulletproof. And then he goes inside and sees like true depravity.
Yeah.
And you
like,
see his fucking like tough guy facade, like, oh, I've made a huge mistake.
Well,
you see him crumbling, and it's awesome.
Well, my favorite part of that sequence too is when he like hears the cooler. And then he shot that girl. It's like,
fucking kills the teenager.
That guy fucking killed that teenager in cold blood, by the way.
Hey, turn the body cam off. Turn the body cam off, please. Let's turn the fucking body cam off. Turn the body cam off.
Like that was like, did he just shoot that teenager in cold blood? And it's
we'll review for whiteness later, and then scrub the footage. Turn that body cam off, please. You know what I mean? It's so fucking insane. But that guy gets what he gets, right? Because he killed an innocent teenager who was just an adulteress, but that's fine. Sure. And he was part of a posse, right? Mm-hmm. We don't care that he dies. We don't care that the mayor dies. I do care that you're telling me that the sheriff, who is our noble moral compass in the film, is just okay with letting the guy who committed the Texas Chainsaw Massacre. They so are invalidating.
It's invalidating everything that's cool about
the opening and this ending. They want to be in the same bloodline as the first movie and just totally invalidate what we're watching. Leatherface is not something that can be sanctioned by the local authority, by the government.
Rational thought in general.
By society at large, right? He represents this Lord of the Flies extra, this pig's head on a stick.
It is this id that we all live with, which is it's just to not have any pretense of society or any sort of like common sense about it. It is, I want to do what I want to do.
Well, is this like how when Obama got elected and everyone's like, now we believe way more conspiracy stuff and we believe the government's corrupt and this and that. And there was just and Edward Snowden and all, Julian Assange, all that. There's just this real hatred of everything. 9/11 was an inside job. I was like, somehow this movie kind of caught that energy of Leatherface is a true American who was failed by his country.
Yeah, there's a real whiff of like, again, this is how I'd say it. You don't need to conspiracy theory Leatherface.
Yeah, he's like Joe the Guts plumber, and we're supposed to fucking like feel bad for him.
I don't need a conspiracy theory about a guy who wears a people mask and has a chainsaw. Like, he's fucked up.
How about this? Even the lady who's just holding the baby and gets kicked in the face and burned. If she's involved in cannibalism and mass murder, I don't fucking care.
I'm not sure I feel so bad about it.
I don't fucking care that mom got murdered.
Yeah.
I don't feel bad for the daughter. She's like, I didn't have a mom. It's like, well, she fucking ate 5 people.
Yeah. Also, you've aged wonderfully. You're 39 years old, and I don't think you're
maybe
20.
I should eat people. The genetics on this.
The genetics on these cannibals is incredible.
Yeah, I got to do that, Countess of blood shit or whatever. Just take some fucking little bathies, splash that fucking pure V8 on the tits, and just try to fucking be young again. No, it's fucking ridiculous. Like, the idea that we can say that Leatherface is in any way not the greatest. The movie specifically telling us he's not the worst monster in the movie.
It's like, that's bullshit.
And I think their argument is in part
one,
one, Leatherface is shown to not be the worst monster. He's kind of this developmentally stunted person who gets like abused by his family and parents and becomes this monster. All right, you know who's still the worst? Whoever in the Sawyer family is hurting and aiming Leatherface. Yeah. Right? He's the worst. Like, the Sawyer family is the worst monster in the movie. Even worse than shit-kicking Texans, which normally we're all agreed on. Posses are bad, and we don't like them in movies.
Not great.
I still don't, but they're not worse than the fucking Sawyers.
Yeah.
And I don't know how she fucking reads about their vast amount of crimes and just says, you know what, I'm with them. It's just because the mayor's corrupt and people are not treating me nice, I'm going to go team up with the guy that slaughtered my friends. It's the logic of it is so fucking insane. And this is the thing, I thought Old Man Leatherface wasn't bad. It did look like Doink the Clown, which was terrible. But like, it kind of worked for me. Like, there were moments where I thought the acting shined through. Some of the fucking scenes of like chainsaw horror were fine. Yeah. The cop thing was great. It's just that this one has so... I don't know that I'd say it wasn't trying to do something.
Yeah.
Right? It's like when you have that friend who, like, he just listens to, like, a hair too much Joe Rogan. Yeah. And it's like, he tells you something, and it's like, clearly he's thought about this a lot.
Yeah, I mean...
The thinking is just not strong.
Well, it's just like... That's a good way to put it. The thinking is not strong. Like, to me, it's just...
It doesn't feel lazy, per se, to me.
No, it's not lazy. What it is like... What it is looking at a thing and saying, it's being, this is what it is. It's being contrarian for contrarian's sake. Like, it's not having an opinion that is just divergent from the norm. What it is saying, like, yeah, but what if it was this? It's like, but why would it need to be that? Why would that make
Leatherface
that
is not Frankenstein from Monster Squad, where we want to see him walking into the sunset with a group of children in sunglasses.
Like, why would that? I think that's the other thing too. Is like, okay, if it was that, let's say you throw logic out the window, and let's say it was like, oh, this tragic figure, Leatherface, Jedediah, who's who I thought was Thomas, but whatever. It's fine.
He's had some other names. I think in the original, in part 3, they call him Thomas Hewitt. But Jed Sawyer was also
all right. So let's say let's throw logic out and say that makes sense. Okay, but why does it matter? I think that's like always the thing that I come to when it comes to like why when people do movies like this is why does it matter to recontextualize one of the coolest, greatest one of the greatest iconography villains of all time?
Who is it serving? Yeah.
Well, why? Like, what is it? What does it do to make what does it do to make Leatherface the anti-hero of the Texas Chainsaw story? What? Like, what do you get out of that? Nothing. It's not interesting. It's just a take that is unnecessary.
Because I would have said Dollars to Donuts, part 4 is my least favorite Texas Chainsaw. Mm-hmm. And again, I like a lot of the stuff in every Texas Chainsaw movie, even if the movie itself isn't hitting on all cylinders.
Right.
This one, though, Texas Chainsaw 4 just was being so weird and original. And Kim Hinkle, who co-wrote the original, came back and clearly had something he wanted to say, right? Like when we saw Leatherface in part 1 with the makeup on, Kim Hinkle was like, there's something else there I wanted to get at. Did he do a good job? No. The whole government Black Ops thing, did that work out? Not really.
Not really.
But, like, there's an energy and a fucking, like, crackling enthusiasm in that movie.
Yeah.
That does come through. This one makes such a fucking tragic mistake. And I love the idea of, it's kind of one of the first, like, legacy requels, right? That they kind of coined and screamed where it's like, let's go back all the way to the original and redo. So there was some stuff
There's things.
There are moments I like, but
there's moments that work. But overall, this movie just doesn't.
The logic in that line are so fucking bad.
Yeah. It just doesn't do anything.
And the characters never fucking matter. Yeah, I think this one to me so far,
it's got to be the worst one.
This to me is the worst. It fucking fails on so many levels.
Yeah,
even like Leatherface like hunting her in the casket. Awesome scene. Love that scene.
Cool. Yes.
That stuff is pretty fucking few and far between. But it's the headspace mistakes they make. Like they literally did that line, "Do your thing, cuz," and they thought in the theater we were gonna stand up, pull our tits out,
like
scream, chug a beer, like
do it. No.
Woo. And instead, it was just like, why do I keep coming to these in public?
It's kind of one of those strange things where you think people are going to forget. Like, hang on. At the end of the day, these are still cannibals. Like, you can't sympathize with people who eat people.
Don't feel better that Leatherface is crawling back to that dungeon to regain his strength to eat more human beings.
That's just not... Yeah,
the friend is still sitting there with his guts coming out. And it's like,
I was like, so she's just cool with all her dead friends sitting in the basement. He's just going to chow down? Like, come on.
Yeah.
And he's just going to keep bringing her milk and cookies.
She's just eating dinner. She's like, is this Tiffany?
Sammy's and...
Ooh, it tastes a little like Chad. Is that on accident? Ew, gross. It's like,
it's not going to work. It's just like...
Yeah, I was doing like Sam Kinison screams at my TV at times.
It's like it's not even a foul ball. It's just a huge whiff. Like you're just like...
It's a fucking whiff where you spin around and fall on your ass like you're in Little League.
Yeah.
It's so fucking stupid. And again, like all Texas Chainsaws, I equate it to like this is like gas station pizza that like it didn't make it to the fridge overnight. So you're like, well, it's been out for fucking 12 hours. Maybe if I reheat it, it'll kill bacteria.
I think Texas Chainsaw 3D...
Or like there's a pepperoni with a mold and you throw it off. You're like, I think this will be all right.
Texas Chainsaw 3D is the pizza that, you've left out overnight. You've already bought it. You've left it out overnight. You forgot about it. And you're like, I'm really hungry. Do I risk...
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah, is the 2 seconds of this pizza worth spray shitting my brains out?
Is the juice worth the squeeze on shitty gas station
pizza? And I'll
pizza?
be the juice that's squeezed. Is this right? No, I don't know.
Yeah.
Anyways, fuck this movie, honestly, for the most part. I hate saying that. Like, I would say, like...
we have so few of them.
70% of this movie is just kind of average, middling Texas Chainsaw. And that's fine, right? That's a lot of what this... And then that last... little bit is just like so astronomically bad.
Yeah. We just have so few of these.
I'm interested to see what you think about tomorrow's entry, Leatherface. We're back doing another Leatherface. And then we have Netflix's very derisive, right? Or divisive.
Divisive?
Divisive, yeah. Not derisive. That's not the word. Divisive. The Netflix Texas Chainsaw Massacre, which I'm fucking pumped to talk about.
That just came out too, right?
2022. Yeah.
Yeah. Damn.
Yeah. Honestly, spoiler alert, I fucking love that one. So I'm excited to keep talking. We've got 2 more Texas Chainsaws left. That's it for 3D. Mercifully, we're going to put it in an evidence box and not think about it again for a long time. We are going to also be, after Texas Chainsaw, which all of them are in your feed. Go back and find them. Keep your notifications on. After this, Carmelita Valdez McCoy, our dear friend and guest host, joins me for the entire Phantasm franchise. And then Alex and I are back to finish out Scream 5 and 6. We've got a lot of awesome stuff coming ahead for you guys. I know we're going to be going to the theater to do Exorcist Believer. Mm-hmm. We have Evil Dead Rise, finishing out that franchise. We have a lot of awesome stuff. A lot of fun friends and guests joined us for some more shows here. So stay with us. Keep your notifications on. Go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod to make sure you get access to every episode this month. You want to do the whole 31. There's power and magic in completing the ritual as it's written, guys. Go to patreon.com/filmalchemistpod to make sure you have every single episode this month. Also, send a movie-loving friend what we're doing so that they know and they can come join the fun. Make sure you ratings and reviews. Email filmalchemistpod@gmail.com. The YouTube is Film Alchemist. Go to misfitparade.net so you can fucking insult movies that I help make and talk about how the logic and the scripts are terrible. Fair play, right? Do all that, but you won't.
You never wrote a line that said,
won't.
do your thing, cuz.
I've absolutely written lines worse than that. I just had the wherewithal to delete them and expunge them from my computer. There you go. But yeah, we'll be back tomorrow with Leatherface. We will see you then. Thank you for doing this with us. We love October. We love the Mega Marathon. For the Film Alchemist, I'm Josh Griffey.
I'm Alex Dandino.